Hey everybody, so this is probably one of the most requested videos that I've done so far, and in this one I'm going to go over the different armor sets in Black Desert for the new players that don't know where to find these armor sets or which ones to choose. Now a lot of the armor preferences really come down to your type of playstyle and the class you're playing, so I'm not going to cover which armor sets are best for which class. I only play Sorceress at the moment, so I wouldn't really know which armor sets other classes are using, although it does tend to normalise around the Heave sets and Grunil later on once Medaya hits. But to start with, as soon as you've amassed a little bit of silver and you're starting to get through the leveling process, or you've hit level 50 and above, pretty much the first thing you want to do is come to Grandis in Calpheon and pick up the ultimate Dobart Set. So you want all 4 pieces of this set. It's going to set you back 4,150,000 silver. Might seem like a lot, however in the grand scheme of things it's not. Now the ultimate Dobart set can be upgraded to +5, which means that there's no failure rate on that. You're going to hit +5 every single time you throw 5 armor stones into this, and you can extract the armor stones at a later date if you're going to need them for progressing your gear later on, once you start to switch to one of the other sets. Now the reason for going with the ultimate Dobart armor is because at +5 this gives the equivalent DP of a +11 of any of the other sets. By far the most cost efficient and best starting gear you can get. Now the vendor also sells these root tree leaf earrings. These earrings and these rings are one of the reasons that I could grind higher level spots a lot sooner than other people, and it's purely because of the huge amounts of accuracy on them. You can pick them up if you want to, but the drops are usually going to be a little bit better. Now while you're here, you might as well also pick up one of the Ornella weapons, because they also give an incredible amount of accuracy and high AP for their level. Definitely worth picking up. They can't be enhanced though, so as soon as you start getting sort of a Uriel weapon that you're going to be pushing to higher stones and higher plus ratings, definitely switch out from this. But for the time being, it's going to be more than enough to help you get started. Now moving on to the other armor sets in the game, we're going to start with the Agerian set. And the Aegean set is one that I use 2 pieces of. Now you can buy the Agerian from a vendor in Velia. If you do the amnesty game and get over 500 amnesty with the vendor, it drops significantly in price to around sort of 90,000 per piece. If you're trying to buy it off the marketplace, you're going to see that it's very rarely listed, because a lot of the classes use this. However, you can always look to try and put a pre-order in, and again you can grind it as well if you want, but it's often more efficient to just go to the vendor or snipe it off the auction house. Now the Aegean Armor offers 2 attack speed and 2 cast speed at a 3 set, and at a 2 set, so 2 pieces of the armor, it gives max HP plus 100. Now people tend to run the gloves and the boots with this, so the reason for this is that the gloves alone give +1 attack and cast speed, and the boots give +1 movement speed. The helm itself gives stun resist of 15%, and the armor gives a flat plus HP of 50. So out of the 2 pieces, if you're planning on only running the 2-piece set, the gloves and the boots are the best there. If you do run the full sort of 4-piece set, then you are going to have 1 item there that's not really of use to you, because you're already going to pick up the set bonus with 3 items, and you're going to find that this is the same with most of the sets. So you're going to want to pick up sort of the 3 and then look to switch out, depending on your class or the resistances you want. So a lot of people tend to pick up the knockdown resist helmet instead, or use a heave helmet because of the extra crystal slots. But on to the next set, we've got Talus Armor. Now Talus Armor gives set bonuses of +2 movement speed at 3 set, and +1 movement speed and plus jump, or 1 jump height at 2 set. So not the best items there, but if you fancy jumping a little bit higher, running a bit faster, then it could be for you. Now the boots on their own give movement speed of +2. The helm gives grapple resist of 15%. The gloves give crit of +1, and the armor gives MP, WP and SP recovery of +5. The next set that we've got is the Zeref Armor Set. Now this armor set gives 3 set effect of extra damage to all species +5, and a 2 set effect of max stamina +200. Now the item specifics on this are gloves all species damage +2, helm of knockdown and bound resist +15%, the armor gives HP recovery of +5 and an increase to your weight carrying limit of +50, and the boots themselves give a +200 to max stamina. So if you run 2-piece Zereth and you pick up the boots as one of those 2 pieces, you're going to get an extra 400 stamina, which can be pretty useful on classes like the Sorceress for improving your movement. And both the Talus and the Zeref Armor Set can be bought from Dobart, who's the smith, by the marketplace in Calpheon. It's a pretty easy one to get as well while you're down here. Next set that we're going to look at, it's the Talus Armor, and it's the last of the sort of big main 4 pieces of gear. Now the Taritas armor gives a 3 set of all accuracy +20 and a pretty significant increase to your max MP, WP and SP of +100 on the 2 set effect. Sort of following in that max MP, WP things, the gloves give max MP, WP and SP of +100 as well. The armor gives max HP +20 and max MP, SP and WP of +20. The boots give a boost to your all evasion, so there's no number for that, it's just all evasion up. And the helm gives resistances for knockback and float. So not one of the more useful helms because knockback and float tend not to be significant enough CCs to warrant having them. So those are the 4 main pieces of armour. The other armour you've undoubtedly heard about will have been the Heave Set. Now the Heave Set doesn't give any individual stats. So if we look at one of the pieces on the marketplace here, we'll bring up the chest piece. It brings up no additional stats. The 2 set piece is +250 health. The 3 set effect is another +50 health. So the 3 set is a little bit lackluster on this. Now the reason it doesn't give any individual stats on each one of the pieces is because every single piece of this has 2 crystal slots. This gives you the most flexibility when it comes to sort of making up for the lack of stats that you've got elsewhere. And it's also the reason why I use 2 pieces of this. So I use the strength helmet, and I use the heave helmet, and I use the heave chest piece as well. So that gives me 250 health from the 2 set there. I run the Agerian gloves, and I run the Agerian boots, so I get the 2 set of another +100, which is already better than the 3 set on the heave. And I also benefit from getting the cast speed on the gloves and the movement speed on the boots. I then use crystals to make up the rest of the shortfall on my stats, so I'll pick up things like cast speed and crit from my crystals and from my weapons. Now I'm not going to go into crystals and the weapon side of things, we're just going to look at the armour for now, but I will cover crystals in another video a little bit later on. So that's the Heave Set and why people use it. It gives the most flexibility in terms of the armour sets. By far is going to be sort of the most customizable, however it's also the most expensive. The reason being is that if you die and you lose crystals, you're having to replace them. Now crystals can be expensive, so if we have a look at sort of one of the crystals that I use at the minute, so if we're looking at weapon crystals, we've got the Karma crystals. If you're using crit and attack speed, they're at 920,000 thanks to our Zerkers, warriors and rangers, and thankfully my critical hit and cast speed are only 300,000. But when you start looking at the armor pieces for the chest, it's 1.3 million for each one of the Cobalinus crystals, and I use 2 of those in my chest piece. So if I keep dying repeatedly, or if I go negative karma and my crystals get destroyed if I die in PvP, it runs up a massive bill. So for most people, going the Heave Set isn't cost efficient to begin with. Carrying on along the line of the customizable options, once my dire hits on patch day this Wednesday, we're going to also gain access to the Grunil set. Now the Grunil set is going to be purchasable in Altanova, whereas the Heave set is already purchasable in Heidel along with the Taritas. The Grunil set itself actually has 3 different set bonuses. So the 2 set gives all AP +5, so flat +5 AP. The 3 set gives 150 HP, and the 4 set gives another 2 AP, allowing you to get 7 AP from your gear. Now the difference between this and the other armor pieces again is that the Heave set and the Grunil set both have 2 crystal sockets, which is why you'll see a lot of people switch over from Heave to Grunil once Alternova hits, and we can go and do the Amnesty game and buy it from the vendor, and also get it dropping from the mobs out there in Medaya. This set is pretty much the set that people tend to run until they replace their armor with boss gear. It's not going to be in the game just yet. We're not expecting it with Medaya. It is something that I'll touch on in future when it does start to drop. However, for the most part, people run the Grunil set and then start rotating pieces out for the boss gear. So for example, we'll all be running the boss gloves. However, that'll still allow us to run 3-piece Grunil with boss gloves until we get the boss boots or the boss chest to replace any of them. And it's a lot more flexible in terms of not breaking set bonuses. So the Grunil set's pretty much where you're going to be looking at once we get access to Alternova and the Medaya mobs. So just a little recap on where you can look to pick these items up. So go to the world map. To start with, the ultimate Dobart is going to be purchasable right here in Calpheon, right next to the storage. Then from Dobart, the actual vendor, you've got access to Talis and Zereth, which you'll find over here, just by the corner and the marketplace in Calpheon. So you're going to be able to pick them up. The Agerian set, it's going to be from a dwarf in Velia, and he's just near the water side, a little bit back from the storage keeper and the vendor. You can't really miss him, he's pretty easy to find. And then you've got the Taritas and the Heave, which you can find in Heidel, and this guy is going to be sort of tucked away in a building towards the bottom side, down here somewhere, tucked in a little building. Can be a bit of a pain to miss, but if you run down the main street and just look inside the building, you'll see him there, and that's where you're going to pick up those armor sets. Now, all of these things can be dropped with the exception of the ultimate Dobart, so you can get the items as drops. However, knowing where they are from vendors means that repairing max durability is going to be so much easier. I've been really lazy, so a couple of my items are lower on durability. I tend to keep them at around 70, 80, sometimes I'll push them to 100 if I'm going to sell them in the future. But understanding where you can pick these items up is going to make enhancing and repairing them a whole lot quicker. So hopefully that's answered some of the questions on the armor types, where you can get them, and giving you a little bit of information on what each of the armor pieces do and the sets themselves. Like I said, it does pretty much come down to personal preference on the set that you want to run. People do have preferences based on their classes. However, for the most part, most people are going to be running Grunil once Medaya hits anyway. So you can probably look at switching from Ultimate Dobart while you're leveling, pick up some Grunil pieces and enhance them once Medaya hits, and you don't really need to worry about any of the other sets. What I will look to do in another video shortly is look over weapons, crystals, and how to improve your stats outside of your armor pieces. But for now, I hope that's been a little bit of help to you guys and covered some of the questions that you might have had. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and if you've got any questions, as always, leave them in the comments section and I'll do my best to answer them as quickly as I can.